guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my November wrap-up. This is the second half of November, so it's about 16 days since I did end my mid-month wrap-up on the 14th. I'm filming this after school. I never film in the evenings after a work day. My filming always takes place on the weekend unless it's a vlog, so sorry if the lighting's weird, sorry if you hear the dogs whining. It is 4:20 and they eat at 5 and they think from 4 to 5 is dinner time, so they get a little antsy, but I will do my best to get this done. And also, sun is going down very quickly, so I feel like my lighting is going to be super weird in this video, so I already feel like I don't know where this is better, but you can see the glare in my glasses, but I need it here, like straight on. So I don't like filming when there's not a lot of light. My prime filming time is like 11 a.m., 12 p.m. Like around there is when I always film, so I think that's okay. That's just what we're gonna work with. So I have 17 books to talk to you about, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into them. So in the month of November, I was literally either reading a Christmas romance or a historical romance. So I have a lot to share. I do have actually one thriller that was from my high school's book club, so I will get to that. But the first book I read, the first two were in, well, I guess, okay, so 3 of these were in my Christmas romance reading vlog, which has actually not come out yet, so that's coming out in a couple of days. But the first one I read, I can never read this title, Snowflakes and Mistledow at the Inglenook Inn by Helen Rolfe. This one was a free audiobook, I think, on Hoopla. It didn't count towards your credits. On Hoopla, I think I get like 20 books a month, and it was like, download as many of these as you want. So I did, and unfortunately, I gave this one, I think 2.5 or 3 stars. It was about a woman who owns an inn, and for some reason, like, Christmas and inns go together so well. Not that much in this one, though, because she had been in the UK for quite a long time, and then her job, like, ended abruptly and horribly, so, like, she was kicked out of her job. So now she's helping a family friend run their inn for Christmas time, and this guy is there on business, and he is like taking up their like deluxe suite, I guess, and he actually was part of the reason why she was fired back in England. And it turned into a big like family drama about like his family. His mom's an alcoholic, and it like really delved into that, and I didn't love it. And that's the same thing that happened with another Christmas romance I read, where the romance really took a back seat and it turned into more like this family focused fiction kind of book, and I don't love that in my romances. So I need a Christmas romance that like is a Christmas romance. So this one, I just quickly lost interest. It was a really long audiobook too, and not a lot really happened, so I think it was like 2.5 stars for this one. Then I read Tic Tac Mistledow by N.R. Walker. This one, my friend Desiree from Genki Reader said, or I think she's Desiree Alicia now on YouTube. She told me she loved this book. It is an MM Christmas romance, and it's pretty short. The audiobook I think was like 5 or 6 hours, so I picked it up. My library has a lot from this author, so I was really excited about that. And our hero, the one hero, is Australian, and he's moving to the US because his sister lives there with her husband, and I think she has kids. And so he is on his plane trying to like make it by Christmas, and they get stranded in a different state, I think, because of a huge snowstorm. And so he decides to rent a car. He's from Australia. He's never driven in the snow before. Ends up crashing, and he crashes next to the home of our other hero, who lives alone with his dog, and they end up rescuing him. And it is the sweetest thing ever. If you want just a really, really sweet Christmas romance, read this one. One of the guy's dog is named after a character from Legally Blonde, and they bond over that, and then they watch Christmas movies and they bake cookies, and it's just so cute. They're snowed in together, and then they end up going together to his sister's for Christmas, and I just loved it so much. And I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't like anything more complex than that. It was just like a really cute, adorable, sweet romance. So 4 stars for this one. I would definitely recommend it as a good Christmas romance to pick up. Then I read The Woman in Cabin 10. And this one, my students picked for our book club because they wanted to read a thriller for October. So we read half the book in 2 weeks. So we meet every 2 weeks. So the first 2-week meeting is the half of the book, and the next week meeting is the second half of the book. So we finished most of it in October, but our meeting just happened to be in the beginning of November. And I had already heard, I think Madison reached out to me when I had said that like my book club picked it, and she's like, oh, I just read it and it like wasn't good. And it wasn't that good. I gave it 3 stars. This one is like a kind of, I don't know if it's called like a closed door. I don't remember. It's like, it takes place on a cruise. So like there's only so many people it could have been, and like that makes it like more intense because like you know it's someone on the cruise. And so what happens is she is staying in this cabin on this cruise. She's supposed to be a travel writer, and even though she like never writes anything while she's on this trip, and she swears she saw someone in cabin 10, but everyone's like, no one's staying there. And then the next night she thinks she sees that woman being thrown over the balcony by someone, and nobody believes her, and it's just like this thing, and it was so boring. The first half, nothing happened. I did like the reveals at the end, like that was really interesting and surprising, but the first half, so incredibly boring. Nothing happened. She was talking to all these people that just didn't matter, and I was like, who are all these people? I could not keep them straight. And I didn't like it. Considering the beginning was like a 2-star and the end was like a 4-star, I settled on a 3-star because I did really like everything that happened, and it was pretty action-packed at the end for the last like 30%, but nothing happened for 70%. It was so boring. So 3 stars for this one. I don't think I'd necessarily recommend it as a thriller. Then I finally read Kidnapped by the Pirate by, this one is Kira Andrews, who I've been loving as well. A lot of her books are on audio, though this one's not, so I physically read it. This one I'm giving 4 stars. It's a kidnapped pirate romance, and it's MM, and so our one hero is on his way to some island. I don't remember, but his dad now like is governor of the island or something, and so he's on his way there to meet his betrothed, and he's with his pregnant sister, and he's known that he is gay, but he's never acted upon it. He's been raised as like that's awful, something that you should be ashamed of, so nobody knows it, and he's never had a relationship before, and so his ship is taken over by pirates, and he is taken as ransom because his father's actually the reason why the pirates are pirates now, because they did work for the crown as privateers, and his dad was like, these men are pirates, they're going against the crown, and like completely destroy their lives. So the pirate captain detests his father and is like, I'm taking you, I hate your father, you're probably just as bad as him, and I'm taking you for ransom, and you're my prisoner. And so he's trapped in his cabin, and they fall in love, and it was so good. I did give it 4 stars though, because a lot of it just took place in the cabin, and I would have liked more scenes outside of the cabin, and I feel like that was only though an issue in the beginning half, because the end half, like things actually started happening, and I don't know if I loved the pacing of the end though. So 4 stars for this one, but a really high 4 stars, almost a 5 stars, because I loved how they started falling for each other, and the captain at first wanted like revenge on the dad, but now he's like really having feelings for him, and then he has to deal with his crew being like, well, what's going on with this, because he's our prisoner, like what's happening? And so it was really a lot of fun, and like more action did happen though near the end too, when like they're off the ship. So 4 to 5 stars. I'm really glad that I finally read this one. Then I read Christmas in Rose Bend by Naima Simone. This one I gave 3 out of 5 stars as well. This is another one where it's an in-owner romance, and it became more of like a family drama than anything else. So this one is about our heroine who is now like in charge of her half-sister. They share the same dad, and he's passed away, so she is now taking care of her half-sister, and they go and spend Christmas at this inn together. So they kind of have a tumultuous relationship and deal with a lot of that drama, like with their family and their father, and that really took over a lot of this plot. And then she meets our hero whose family owns the inn, and they really click, and I was loving the beginning because his mom was so funny, and I really loved all the characters, but then it quickly became very boring and very family-centered, which I don't want in my Christmas romance, but I guess a lot of Christmas romance do that. They really lend more towards women's fiction than romance. Like the romance was really a side plot in here, and so I did give this one 3 out of 5 stars. I just wanted more, and I didn't care about her family drama and his family drama, and I just wanted the romance. So 3 out of 5 stars for this one. Then I did read the 4th book in the Scoundrels of St. James series. I read the first 3 at the beginning of this month, and then I finally read the 4th one. So this one is Midnight Pleasures with a Scoundrel, and this one was not Jack's book, Swindler. I forget what his name was, but this one, he's the one who was also in love with Franny, who was book 3. Actually, there were 2 books I read where it was like a little slow in the beginning. This one wasn't the one that was more boring. That was the other Lorraine Heath, so I got confused. But this one, our heroine wants revenge on someone who's responsible for her sister's death. And so her sister committed suicide, and she's in town, and she's like, I need to kill this man. And our hero works for the police, whatever they were there, and he is put in charge of watching her and seeing like if she's gonna do something or not, and they fall in love. And like the beginning was good, and I was like, but where is this plot going? Like, I don't know, like I have half a book left. Halfway through, a bomb is dropped, things get crazy, things turn angsty, and she is more aware of what's going on than he realizes, because I thought that it would be typical, like, oh, she figures out he's only spending time with her because of who she's after, and she was not fooled. And it turned so good. And so I gave this one 4.5 stars, because the beginning I was just like, where is this going? Why do I care? This is really slow. But then like that bomb was dropped and I was like, I did not see that coming. That was an amazing plot twist, and it finished off the series so well. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Lorraine Heath books this month, so I'm getting their plots a little out of order, but I really enjoy this one. The next Lorraine Heath book I read was The Earl Takes All, and this one I knew I was gonna love. You guys, it is a brothers wife romance. Like, give me that angst. I'm obsessed. And so they are twin brothers, and Edward, and I forget the other one's name, but Edward is the one who lives, and he's the one who's like the playboy. He's the second son. He does what he wants, and he acts like he hates his brother's wife because he's really madly in love with her. Think of Love Actually with Keira Knightley. Like, this is literally, there was a scene from the movie that was like basically in the book. And so he's pushed her away, even though he was her first kiss, and she is pregnant with her 4th child, and she's had 3 miscarriages. So they are very wary of her pregnancy, and so him and his brother go to Africa together with their friends, and the brother dies, and he had made him promise him, if anything happens to me, you need to pretend to be me so that she does not lose this baby, because we don't want like her to be traumatized and like fretful and lose the baby. And so he comes back to London as his brother, and well, it's not London, so they're in the country. Like, he comes back to England as his brother and has to act like his brother, and like he's married to her, and it was so angsty and so good. And then when The Secret came out, I really loved how the plot went from there. It wasn't like your stereotypical and really predictable kind of plot. Like, I loved her going back and forth about what to do and how to handle it, and it was so good. It also takes place during Christmas time, which I loved, because like, hello, it's December now, and I was reading at the end of November when I was reading all Christmas romances. So 5 out of 5 stars, super angsty. I loved him, and I loved their romance and where it went and how they dealt with the fact that he wasn't the brother, and it was just so good. Then I read Boyfriends of Christmas Past. Now, there's 2 different authors on this book. One is listed on Goodreads and one is listed on Amazon as different, but it's the same author with different pen names, so I don't know which one to say. So this is the cover that's on Goodreads, and this one I read for my Hallmark movie versus book series, so I'll link that video down below if you want to watch it. And this one is about a girl who is very selfish. It's a what is it, Christmas Carol retelling, and so she's visited by boyfriends of her past, and she relives why they broke up and how she's a completely selfish person, puts herself first, doesn't care about others, and she's been dating Sam for 3 years, and she literally does not care about him. She loves him, but she always constantly puts herself and her job first. She has this big like deal coming up that she needs to prep for, and it's Christmas time, and she's never been home to see his family, and she stands him up all the time, misses big important events about him, and she's like learning like that she's a selfish person and needs to put others first. And I enjoyed it. I think I gave this one 3.5 stars. I actually like the movie better because it was a friends to lovers in the movie, and I could not believe that Sam would stick around for 3 years dating someone that selfish. Like, she annoyed me so much, and that was the point. We weren't supposed to like her. She was supposed to learn how to be a better person by seeing her exes, and I really did enjoy seeing her exes and why they broke up and her realizing it, but she hurt him so many times and like did not put him first, and I feel like he should have broken up with her by then. But that's why I like the movie better. I think if I didn't watch the movie, I probably would have given this 4 stars, but 3.5 for this book. Then another disappointing Christmas romance was Duke Actually by Jenny Holiday. This one I was so excited to read. It's a modern day Duke romance. So he is actually not a Duke yet. He is like next in line to the dukedom, and so they met at his supposed betrothed's wedding. In the first book, like, he was supposed to get married to someone and she ended up marrying someone else. It was like an arranged marriage that he was supposed to be with her. This is not really marketed as a second book, and I feel like I would have liked it much more as a second book. I should have read the first one before reading this one. Our heroine's best friends with the groom of that wedding, and so we get the wedding in here and all that like goes down in the second half, so I feel like this book really lost me in the second half. It's friends to lovers, super slow burn, and she makes a really annoying decision at the end. That's the third act conflict, and I hated it. So I give this one 3 stars. stars. I loved how they met. I loved their friendship. His name was Max and her dog's name was Max, and it was so cute, and they would text each other and call each other all the time. She was trying to get back into a relationship, so he was like kind of helping her with that, and then but obviously they liked each other and they were thrown back together because they were going to this wedding together, and just the second half I didn't care about, and then she way overreacted about what happened and she just annoyed me too much. So 3 out of 5 stars for this one. Super slow burn too slow burn for me. So it took forever for them to get together. And his friend Slovers, that was cute, but I wanted more. Then a very pleasant surprise was Love is a Rogue by Lenora Bell. This one I read because Lisa told me to read it a while ago, and it is like he built her a bookshelf, and that's what I knew going into this one. He's a carpenter working on her estate, and she is a wallflower, and she doesn't want to get married, but her mother's pushing her to like go out in society and get married, and so she's spying on him and drops her glasses on him, and then he like climbs up her window to give them back to her, and that's like where their bantering relationship begins. She inherits a bookshop and she is like in heaven. She's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but it's really gross and like crumbling down, water damage and like everything, but she's determined to save it. So she hires him to help her rebuild this bookshop and discovers things about the bookshop, and he though has no interest in being with someone of higher class because his family dealt with that. His mother was high class and his father wasn't. His mother was actually cut off, and they had a really hard time surviving for a while because she was cut off and they didn't have any support, and she like has still a very bad relationship, doesn't talk to any of her family, and so he doesn't want that for himself, and that definitely comes into play with her mother, who is determined to get her a good match, and she actually makes a deal with her mom that she's going to try in society if she can be allowed to keep this bookshop, and it is so cute. I gave this 4.5 stars but rounded up to 5. I really enjoyed it. I loved that they fell for each other and that she was falling for him too, even though she had no interest in finding a man and marrying someone in society because she just wants her books. She's writing a dictionary and it's so cute. And she has wallflower friends that are adorable that I'm pretty sure get more books, so I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, so then this one was the one I was getting confused on. So this one is the Vical and the Vixen by Lorraine Heath. This is book 4 in another series that she wrote. I don't remember which series it is though, but this one, it is the one with Earl Takes All. So this one is book 4, and because it's right? I think so. They were all raised, it might be book 3, I don't remember, but they were all raised by this like madman, and so our hero in this one is the son of the madman, and he's not mad, he's like super adorable, and so he wants his son to get married, and the son is like, no, I'm not gonna get married, so he puts an advertisement in the paper saying he wants a wife so that he can have another heir, because his current son is never gonna get married and have heirs. So he puts the ad in the paper, and this woman shows up, and she says, I'm here to marry the old man. And so things happen. The old man kind of like finagles things so that she ends up marrying the son instead. And so now they're married. It's a marriage of convenience. She's learning to be the head of a household. And the beginning was really slow. This is the one that I messaged Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings, and I was like, I know you just read this, but this is extremely boring. Like, what's gonna happen? And she's like, oh, well, it gets better, and like the epilogue is super adorable. You're gonna love it. And so halfway through, they finally leave and actually go into society, and it gets so much better. It's super angsty. Secrets come out. Lorraine Heath has like the best plot twists ever, and like very dramatic plot twists, and this one had that, and I really enjoyed it. I loved where the plot went, and the epilogue was adorable. I really loved it, and I guess the next book in the series is about the dad and his romance love story with the hero's mom, so I'm really excited to read it. But this one, 5 out of 5 stars, like no question. Lorraine Heath, 5 out of 5. I read Slightly Married by Mary Balog. I listened to the audiobook of this one and it was boring. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This one, our hero and heroine have a marriage of convenience, and I feel like it was just a really realistic, nice look at a marriage of convenience. Very just fine. So our heroine has a brother who's in the military, and the hero works in the military as well, and he sees the brother die and promises him he'll take care of his sister. So he shows up and says, your brother's dead. And she has only gotten to have like the estate for a year after her father passes away, and after a year it should have gone to her brother, but since he's dead it's gonna go to a cousin, and she'll get nothing. She'll be like kicked out, and along with everybody that's there. So like she took in a bunch of people, she has children there, like she is a very giving, caring person, and so it's like a week left, and then so he decides to marry her, and it's a marriage of convenience, and he's like, I'm in the military, we'll get married and I'll leave and we just won't see each other again. It's like literally a marriage of convenience, and we will not even live together. And so she agrees, and then his family figures it out and kind of tries to influence the marriage and makes her come into society. And it was fine. Like, it was nice. I liked reading it, but I wasn't in love with the story. I wasn't in love with the characters. I didn't feel like I was excited to listen to more of the audiobooks, so this one just 3 out of 5 stars. It's very nice, but that's it. Then I listened to The Wrong Bride by Gail Callan. This one was a lot of fun. A lot of people are annoyed though because like the main conflict is the fact that the hero is a Scottish, I don't know if he's a laird, but he is supposed to be betrothed to this woman who is half Scottish, half English, but they like kind of pulled back on their promise and haven't like given her to them yet, and he gets a dowry with her, and his clan really needs the money, and so he is like, I'm gonna take my bride and we're gonna get that money and we're gonna help the people of my clan. Well, he kidnaps the wrong person. So she has the same name, it's Catriona. She goes by Riona, her cousin goes by Cat, but they have the same name, and she is staying in her cousin's room and he kidnaps her. And the whole time she tells him, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me, you got the wrong person. He thinks she's lying, like obviously he kidnapped her, she's gonna say anything she wants. And so like the main conflict is like him figuring out he has got the wrong woman after they've fallen in love. And like, that's fine with me. I was fine with that, but a lot of people don't like that. But I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved the kidnapping aspect, and we had a lot of them traveling back to Scotland, and it was so fun watching her try to escape. They had to stay in super close proximity to each other. She was very attracted to him. It was so fun. I liked it a lot. And then we had her helping out things with his family because he had a really, really, really bad father, and she helped mend some of those things, and it was great. And watching them fall in love, it was so cute. So I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I can see why it could be annoying that like, duh, she's been telling you all along the truth, and then you figure it out and you're like, oh crap, but like, you should have known, but I understood why he didn't. I'm losing light so quickly. I am so sorry about how this looks. I feel like every time I turn this down, it still looks super bright. The next book I read was A Bramble House Christmas by C.J. Carmichael. This is my next episode of Hallmark Book versus Movie, and so I've already watched the movie too, and you'll see in that video what I liked better, but I gave this book 3.5 stars, and it's just like a really sweet Christmas book, but the hero did something I didn't love. So this one is the hero's father dies of cancer, and the father didn't tell anybody he was dying of cancer. His parents are divorced, so the father just like dies, and they're like, he had cancer? Because the father didn't want to be a burden to anyone. He hired a nurse, and that's our heroine. He leaves her $50,000, and so the family is like, who is this woman and why does she get this money? And so he decides to follow her to Bramble House, which is this inn that his father like gave them Christmas time at. Like the father set it up for the nurse and her son to stay at. The son just beat leukemia, so he is cancer free, and it's his first Christmas cancer free, and she is very paranoid it's gonna come back. She's overprotective, but she wants like the best Christmas for her son. And it was a really cute single mom romance. I loved her relationship with her son. Her son had lost faith in Christmas. He doesn't believe in Santa, even though he's really young, and he's like very selfless, and so they're trying to make it magical for him. First time in the snow, the hero meets her and realizes she's a single mom, and he's like, well, maybe she isn't like this woman who would cheat my father out of money and like make him fall in love with her kind of thing, and starts falling for her. But they are intimate before she knows who he really is, and that just made me feel icky. I didn't like that he waited until, well, he didn't even, like, she found out accidentally who he really was and why he was there until after they got together. I didn't love that. So instead of a 4-star, it dropped down to a 3.5, but it was still a really fun short Christmas romance that I would recommend. Okay, my sister's making dinner, so sorry if you can hear like the slapping of the chopper. But the next book I read was A Pirate's Pleasure by Heather Graham. This one was our Historical Hellions pick for November. I love this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, really 4.5, because there was a scene in here that made the Native Americans into these very violent, brutal villains for no reason. Like, that did not need to be in the plot. It was to explain something that could have been explained any other way, and I really didn't love the use of Native Americans in that way. But this was a pirate romance, and it was everything I wanted in a pirate romance. She knows how to fight, and her ship is kidnapped by pirates, and she literally like fights them all off, but then the captain bests her and she falls in love with the captain. But then she's already married by proxy to the captain's cousin, and so she is like being held ransom by him, but she has a husband. She doesn't know that she's already married, she just thinks she's betrothed. And so then she's given to the cousin and kind of starts falling for him, but she's still in love with this pirate captain. And if you want action, non-stop action in this romance. I loved every minute of it. She did make annoying decisions, but hello, she was kidnapped. So of course she's gonna be annoying and make some things a little bit more complicated because she's not just gonna sit all innocent and be like, oh, I'm kidnapped. No, she's gonna try to escape. And so I did really love this. So much action and suspense and wild, crazy plots. Sure, there were plot holes, but it's fine. It was an entertaining, good time. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I forgot the first book I read. So the first book I read this month, it's sitting right in front of me. I was like, I haven't talked about this yet. The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. I absolutely love this book. 5 out of 5 stars. Well, I think I gave it 4.5 because it was a little slow at some parts. Like, it's really low angst, I feel like. And she needs to get a husband, and she approaches Kit for lessons in seduction, and so she asks him to teach her how to be with a man, and he's like, no, because he is lower class and he is known as a womanizer. Like, he's been hooking up with some of the chaperones at this house party they're at. It all takes place at this house party, and so he wants to open up his own supper club though, and wants a good chef and good recipes, and she's best friends really with her family chef who's really famous in New York, and so she agrees to give him some of the recipes if he helps her, and so they agree to that. They have their lessons in seduction, and then she ends up helping cook at his supper club, and it is so fun. I loved her as a chef. I love the social class difference. It did feel a little too low angst to me. I wanted a little bit more angst, even though like it is angsty because it's like social class difference. I just wanted a little more. It was like really sweet, but I really like this one. A lot of people have been loving it, so I would definitely recommend to pick this one up. Okay, I have 2 left. So next I read Seduce Me at Sunrise by Lisa Kleypas, and I was actually a little let down by this one. So I was really loving it in the beginning. This one's Mutual Pining. It's Kevin Wynn's story. I loved their angst in book 1. This is book 2, and so he is Romani, and he was pretty much adopted by their family when he was a boy, and she lives with the family, but their parents passed away, so it's all the siblings together, and it's her and Kev's story, and I really liked getting the backstory of them. I really loved Kev getting really jealous of her and another love interest, but I feel like it wasn't angsty enough for me. Like, they got together a little too soon, and it kind of turned like mustache twirling villain at the end, which was surprised me with Lisa Kleypas. I didn't love that, and I feel like I just wanted way more angst in the relationship, so I wanted a little bit more, and we got to know like Kev's background. I didn't really care about that plot line, figuring all that out, so I wanted more focus on the angsty romance than what we got, and I wanted them to like not be together for a little bit longer and not have that odd villain at the end. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm excited to continue on with the series. This keeps on being too bright because it keeps on getting darker outside. The next book I read, and the last book, was North of the Stars by Monica James. This one is Monica James' first Viking historical romance, so I was super excited to read it. And for personal preferences, I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think I'll round it up to 4, but for like at least 60% of the book, the hero and heroine are not together. And the hero is married for a lot of the book, and still in the end he's still married to someone else even when they're together. So there's cheating in here, but it's like Viking historical, so I don't know like how much it counts because he's not really in love with his wife. And so this one, our heroine's a princess, and she is trained by our hero who's a Viking, and he's actually kidnapped by her people, and like trains her and trains them how to defeat his own people, and he's doing it for a reason. His family was taken, so he's trying to get them back. And so it starts when she's 14. I think it's, well, like most of the beginnings when she's 14, and she is married off to someone else and pretty much raped for the next 3 years by someone, and so it's very dark. She is the mistress of someone even though she's married to someone else, and all these things happen. So then for the rest of the book she's 17, I believe, and he's like 22, 23, and they're reunited, and a lot happens in here. Like, there's a lot of like blood and gore and fighting and like decapitating people, and she does something really gross when something's happening to her that I was like, did I just read this? And so it is dark, and there's just like a lot that happens, and I would have liked a little less and more in depth of those things, so that's why I'm giving it 3.5 stars. But I still really enjoyed how fast paced this was, and I enjoyed the romance. It's a forbidden romance, and there's kind of a love triangle in here too, so I did enjoy it. I just wish they weren't separated for so much, because then I feel like I would have felt more depth to their relationship and more understanding of this whole world, because it feels like there's a lot in this world that I still don't understand, It's not fantasy, but it kind of feels that way, like with the Vikings and all these different sides and all these different people working together with this whole war that's going on. So I would have liked a little bit more in that, but it is the first book in a series. I don't know if it's going to be duet or more, but there's more to come. So that's why I'm rounding it up to 4. It was still really good, and I did like the romance, and there is a love triangle, and I don't know how it's going to play out, so I enjoyed it, but round up to 4. I would recommend checking it out, but just know all those little things that I said are part of it. And that is my wrap up for November. Let me know what you've read this month or what you thought of the books that I read. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.